Welcome to Becoming More with Leslie Ryan. I am your host. This is episode 4, How I Learned I Had Been Abandoning Myself. I really want to talk about self-abandonment. It's been put on my heart to talk about. It's something I had no idea that I had been doing in my relationships, in dating. I had no idea it was my pattern. I didn't even know it was a term. And it's why I want to talk about it today, because I feel like so many women do it without even knowing we do it. And it's really, like I said, it's on my heart a lot. Obviously, it's what I do. I coach women through recognizing their patterns, becoming aware that this is what they do, and helping them break them, overcome them, and then to fully embody themselves and to learn to self-trust, self-love, and to step into that higher version of themselves, the one that doesn't settle, that doesn't self-abandon. And it is so passionate. Obviously, it's what I do, it's what I coach women through. And I feel like this needs to be talked about and shared, because I had no idea it was my pattern. No idea I was self-abandoning. No idea I was the biggest block in all of my relationships. And I feel like so many women can relate to this. And yeah, so basically, I didn't even know that this was a term. And so I'm just gonna go over what the actual definition of self-abandonment is. It's a chronic psychological pattern of dismissing your own emotions, needs, boundaries in order to gain the approval of others or keep the peace. Sounds like most women. We are such good, peacekeepers. We just keep everything easy going. You'd almost see that's just what women do, which is why I think it's so easy that we do this without even knowing that we're doing it. It's usually you're dismissing your own needs, emotions, and you're ignoring your intuition, which is exactly what I was doing. Had no idea. Saying yes when you really want me no. And it becomes a pattern before you even realize it. Like I said, we do it without even knowing we're doing it. And it becomes so ingrained in you, which is why it's a pattern. It's hard to break, because I think for me, the biggest reason why I struggled for so long is because I didn't even know this was my pattern. And the crazy part is I have gone to therapy for years. I've read books, I've done work, and I had never heard of this term. I used to be an anxious attachment style, so I knew about that. You would have thought I would have maybe learned it through working through that, because it is a part of it. When you're an anxious attachment, you tend to just want to be chosen, so you lose yourself, you do self-abandon. But I never really recognized that or read it or heard about it at all through learning about that. But it could have been because also at that time I was focused on what I was learning on. And sometimes you take things in different moments and you absorb things differently. I've read books multiple times that I've taken things from one time reading it, got something so good out of it, and the second time got a completely different thing out of it. So maybe that's what it was for me. But actually this was brought up on a retreat, and I was sharing a story about how my ex-husband walked out on me in counseling, and that was it. That was how our marriage ended. He threw in the towel and just walked out on me in counseling, and I was like, okay, I guess. And I said, yeah, he left. And one of the facilitators there was standing listening to this story, and he looks at me and he's like, did he really leave you? And I look at him well, yeah, he walked out. But I knew, the way he was looking and the way he was asking that question, I knew there was something deeper there. And he goes, that was just the story you have been telling yourself. And that everyone always leaves. That's the story you've been telling yourself, which I already knew that one. I knew I had been after my marriage and ex-husband, I have had multiple relationships where every guy leaves or breaks up or ends things. And I started telling myself the story that everyone always leaves. So I already had recognized that. But what I didn't know, he was like, so how about he didn't leave you? You actually left yourself. You abandoned yourself. And the way this hit me, the tears and the emotions came flooding through so hard. It was like the light bulb went off and everything I had been working on finally came together. It all just clicked. It was, and to know that I was the one that caused myself all this pain, like probably hurt even more. And the other thing that was crazy, it was almost like it flashed before my eyes the time that it happened. Like I remember, because it didn't happen, it didn't happen in the counseling session. It happened way before that. I can remember the moment I self-abandoned myself without even knowing it, and I can remember it so vividly and know exactly when the pattern began. And that's the crazy part. It's like that flashed before my eyes. And I also at this retreat had been doing some breath work sessions, so it brought a lot of this up as well. But it took me back to 2007 when I had just moved to be closer and live in the same city as my ex-husband. And it took me back into like my apartment there in the closet, and like this girl crying, this like old version of me crying. And I knew exactly what the moment it was. And yeah, you guys, I've shared a little bit about this in some of my posts on social media talking about self-abandonment, but I'm hesitant. It's funny that I share it there in writing, but actually speaking this out is kind of scary. And I'm not sure that I really want to, but I do know that this isn't about me. And this, if someone else can recognize their patterns in what I've done and it can help someone else, then I know I need to share this story. Because just telling you what self-abandonment is and the definition and what it could look like is one thing, but sharing like a very vulnerable moment of how I realized where it began for me, I feel like that can resonate deeper with someone when you can actually see and hear a moment and a story. So yeah, it was 2007. I had just moved up to Northern California. I had been newly engaged like 2 months. I was living down in Southern California at the time, and me and my ex-husband were doing long distance. So when we got engaged, it was like, okay, I'll make the move up here. And I moved up to Northern California and gave up a job I absolutely loved and my friends, and I moved away from my mom. But you know what, you guys, I was excited. I was so excited because I was engaged. I was going to marry like the man of my dreams. He was like Prince Charming and so perfect. And I was like young and madly in love. And I can remember I had an amazing job. I worked in Neiman Marcus at Fashion Island. I was assistant manager in cosmetics. And so I worked with a ton of women. And you guys, I was 21 at the time. So most of the women were all older than me. And so when I was moving and I'm newly engaged, a lot of them were like, don't do it. Don't move. Don't, like, you're so young. Your whole life's ahead of you. Don't give this up. Like, you're on such a great track with your business here, your career. And I was like, no, I know exactly. I got it all figured out. Oh boy. Yeah. Totally understand what they were saying, because you don't have it. We never have it all figured out, and you definitely don't have it all figured out at 21. So basically, I moved And the same month that I moved, I found out that my ex-husband had been sexting multiple women online, and also was addicted to porn. And it was just like this whole bomb went off in my life. Like the same month, I just gave up everything. I know no one here. I have no family. I felt so completely lost and alone, and I had no idea what to do. And I was so hurt, but I knew I couldn't go back home because I didn't want to look like a failure. I didn't want all those women telling me, "We told you so." Because I could have gone back to Neiman's. I could have went back. They would have taken me back with open arms. They loved me there. Could have easily gotten a job there and went back and moved back to my mom's. No big deal. But I was engaged to this man that was like the love of my life, and I wanted to make it work with him. And so I told no one, literally no one, told not a soul. And I didn't even go to therapy or counseling. I just kept it inside because I was so young, I had no idea what I was doing to myself. But I was doing what I thought was best at the time. And that was the moment I abandoned myself. Because I didn't stand up for myself. I didn't use my voice. I just stayed in something that I felt I needed to stay in. And I honestly felt trapped because I was so far away from anything I knew in my life at that time. This was all brand new. I felt completely lost. And it's really hard when the only person around to comfort me was also the person that hurt me the most. It was the oddest thing and the oddest time to go through that. And if I could go back now, I wish I would have said something to my mom or a friend. They probably would have talked some sense into me, but I can't, everything happens for a reason. So, yeah, that's, man, I can't believe I shared that. So yeah, it took me at the retreat. I went back to that. I can picture her, this just young, broken girl in the closet crying. And I remember doing a breathwork session and seeing her in there crying. And I had to go in there, this version of me, go in there and comfort her and tell her, I'm sorry. I didn't know better at the time. I did the best I could. I'm so sorry. But I know now, and things are different now, and we are okay. And that's what inner child work and healing really is. I think for me, I thought it was when you're a little kid or a little child, and it can be, but I didn't realize it was when I was 21 was when all of this started, and when the pattern stuck with me. And then I kept doing it in relationships after a relationship and abandoning myself because I wanted to be loved so bad that I lost myself and lost my voice. And I think the reason, so I want to talk about if any of you are listening to this and realized oh my gosh, this is something I do, I self-abandon, and the light bulb has gone off for you, or if you are on a healing journey yourself, I just want to send you some love and support and give you encouragement, and to know that it's such a long process of digging deep and doing the work on yourself. We want it to happen overnight, and you think okay, I figured it out, now this will just happen. And it doesn't work that way, because there's so many layers to this. And if this is something you've been doing for years and it's your pattern, it is very hard to break just overnight. But just becoming aware is the first step to healing it. And I think that's why it took me so long to actually heal and figure out what the problem was. The problem was me, but because I had no idea that this was what I was doing. I figured out, oh, the story I say is everyone always leaves, so that's what's happening, but I'm also attracting these unavailable men. There were so many layers to it for me, but this is why I really want to share about this, because I didn't know. And if I feel like if I knew this sooner, I could have healed and like worked on this sooner. But everybody's journey is different. And so that's just why I wanted to share it with you guys. And it hits pretty deep with me, which why now you can see why I am so passionate about the work that I do with the women that I get to work with, and coaching this through their own healing and their own journey. So yeah, I just want to, if you are on your own healing journey and working towards, self-love and embodiment and stepping into the version of you're meant to be, I just want to give you some grace and support, and I want to share like something, the biggest thing for me once I recognized this in my healing was honestly quiet time with myself, either journaling or meditating, because what happens when you self-abandon, you get so far away from who you are, you get so lost. That version of you, that's your identity, like you don't even know who you are anymore. And so in order to come back to who you are, you need to start to listen to yourself again, but you also need to learn to like trust yourself again, because the other thing is self-abandonment honestly like really is just like, it's not really a negative thing, because you're coming from a good place, because you want love and you want to be accepted or to be liked or to be seen or valued. So it's not, we're really like kind of doing it as like a self like protection, because that's what we want, right? But it's because we don't trust ourselves to say or do the things that we really want, so we don't do them. So when you stop doing them, you kind of lose yourself. You stop hearing your intuition, you stop trusting yourself, which is why having the quiet moments like meditation or journaling to connect back to yourself is so helpful. I would say journaling is great because sometimes just getting it out, it flows and something clicks. But to really connect back to yourself, you need that quiet time, and meditating. Meditating has been huge for me in the last like 10 months. And it's helped me to connect back to my inner voice and to hear my intuition. But the biggest thing is to not just hear my intuition, I need to learn to trust it again, because I stopped trusting it. I stopped listening to it. So that is something I'm really working on right now. So you guys see me talking about that a lot. It has been so incredible and so amazing for me in so many ways. And I just want you to know, like, if this is something that you struggle with as well, don't beat yourself up about it, because you probably didn't know you were doing it like I did. And like I said, women were such natural born people pleasers, and we want to keep the peace. I feel like we can just do this so easily with, again, not even knowing we're doing it. So yeah, I just want to send anyone listening who's going through something very similar, I want to send you some love and support in your journey. If you have just recognized that this is your pattern, give yourself grace, give yourself a hug. Don't beat yourself up. You were doing it from a good place, sadly. But take some time and journal, process some of this, and just know that you don't have to have it all figured out. And just know that becoming aware of this is the first step to healing.